Hello and welcome to tutorial 6 of the Unity Tilemap tutorial series. In this video we're going to do a bit of bug fixing, a bit of refactoring, and we might also add a kind of victory condition as well. So let's jump into that. So the game as it stands so far, we have a map that we can walk over, and it has some random tiles, so there's different flowers on different tiles, so you get an appreciation of the movement even if the tiles fill the whole page. But one of the things we can see if we zoom in is that there is a gap on these tiles, and this gap only seems to appear on the line where our character is and on the grass textures, the first grass textures, which is a bit of a problem. So I think we've got a bit of a bleed here into one of the other textures. So it looks like that might be coming from this texture down here, the slabs texture, and that's what we're seeing in that line. This is basically a problem that you get when you use the 3D engine to do 2D graphics. And one of the solutions is to stretch out the edge all around the sprite so it matches seamlessly with its surroundings. The only problem with that is it's a lot of extra work to go to each sprite and add those sort of extra borders around each of the sprites. You can also do some playing around with the camera, but that works differently on different screen sizes. So, you know, there's a lot of possible solutions, there's a lot of issues, and there's pros and cons to each of them. The best one that I've found is to use something called a sprite atlas. So we're in the sprites folder at the moment. I'm just going to click and create. Click and create. Oh, maybe if I stop playing. Click and create. There we go. 2D sprites. Sprite Atlas. There it is. 2D Sprite Atlas. We're going to call this terrain. So let's have a look at some of the settings there. Type master, including build, allow rotation, type packing, alpha dilation, padding 4. This is the setting that's really interesting for us. This is going to automatically add those borders to the image below. Okay, we've got all of those in, and what we have to do now is we have to add to the list, and we're going to add in the textures that are causing the problem. So this is all of them basically. So we'll start with terrain 0, terrain 1, terrain 2, terrain 3, and terrain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that makes sense. So there's 5 of them all together. We'll do a pack preview. And you can see in the bottom there, if I move myself, how the terrain has been packed into this sprite sheet. And you can see around the edges we get this this padding of 4 pixels, so we shouldn't get the gaps anymore. Now something's not looking quite right. Filter mode bilinear. We want filter mode to be point. Let's do a pack preview again. There you go, and we've got our sharp, sort of pixel perfect looking image there. Okay, so let's zoom back into the game. Let's zoom right in. We can see there's no gaps anymore between the tiles, so that's fixed that issue. So that's a good start. using the Sprite Atlas. Now the other thing we talked about was a bit of refactoring. So what we did this bool is in bounds check, and we used the game manager and got the width and got the height from the game manager. It really is just a map manager, but a game is based around a map, so that's the way it is. And we're getting the game manager here, and when we call move player, we're doing this if is in bounds target position. What we want to do is change this to game manager dot is in bounds target position. Let's just save that, go back into Unity, get it to compile. Let's get my head back down in the bottom corner. This is taking a while. So obviously found something it doesn't like. There you go, generate method is in bounds, that's what I was looking for. Then we go into our game manager. There we go. We want that to be public, is in bounds. Go back to the player controller and grab everything in there and just paste it over here. So we're getting a vector 3 int, which is the target position, and we're returning a bool. Interesting. This should be target position. So I think we actually had a bug there already. Oh, something went wrong there. We're using the get width and get height, and it's from this, which is the game manager, so we don't have to say game manager. So we're taking this target position and we're returning false and returning true to check that it's in bounds. So let's save that. So this bool is in bounds, we can delete now. Let's save that. Go back into Unity. It's still thinking about compiling. Okay, it's happy now. I have no idea how this worked before because there was a bug in the code. But yeah, it still works. There we go. Cool, so we're moving the player around. That's a good start. Now, the game manager, we want it to be able to talk to the player. So we've got the player controller player. And when we start, after we've drawn the map, we're going to get an integer, call that start, and that equals random range, and we're going to put in this random range, we're going to say it's 0, comma, get width, not random range, random.range, 0, get width. So we've got the start there, and we're going to say player dot transform dot position equals, let's just check what that is, should be vector 3, yeah, equals new vector 3 start, comma, 0, comma, and we're just going to say player dot transform dot position dot z. So we're not going to change that, basically we're going to keep it the same. Save that up. Let's see what that looks like when we press play. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go to our game manager, and we need to grab the player and then press play. It's amazing I didn't forget that, because I usually forget that little step in sort of dragging the object across into the inspector. And we can see he started in this position. Okay, and let's just play that again. Okay, he seemed to start in the same position again then, didn't he? Hi, there you go, we're seeing him in a different position now. So he appears at a random position at the bottom. And now we need our victory conditions, so we'll go back into the game manager. And update. We get rid of the private, so this is void update. So this is running every frame. If player dot transform dot position dot y equals greater than or equal to get height we're just going to copy this in for now. So we're going to move the player back to the bottom. I shouldn't be copying and pasting the same code in two different places, but just get the idea and see the bug that I've probably created. So save that. Give that some time to compile. There we go. So what should happen when the player reaches the top of the screen, he should shoot back to the bottom again. And he's not. And the reason that is is because we're getting height, and we want to get height -1 because it starts at 0. Well spotted if you saw that and figured that out before. Hit play again. Yeah, so we can get to the top of the screen and he shoots back to the bottom again. So this is our victory condition in our game. Our victory condition is to reach the top of the screen. It's not an amazing achievement with the current setup, but then we start on a new screen, or we actually see the same screen at the moment, and we go back to the start and we step through. Okay, so that's just an illustration of what we want to do there. So let's get some sort of idea about what we want to do in the code for the game manager. So this here, let's extract it into a method. So it's called a new method, and this is going to be set player start. I should have done an F2 on that. Set player start, and over here we can set player start so generate map, clear tile map, draw map, set player start. Let's get all of that. We're going to call that restart. Oh. F2, we're going to call that restart. I'm just going to drag that down. I'm just going to drag that down. There. I'm just going to grab these private ones. I'm going to cut and paste those to the bottom. Not quite at the bottom. It's tidying up really. So there's all our private voids. Generate map. Okay, so we've got all of our public ones, we've got our Unity ones, our public ones, and we've got our private methods. So we're looking pretty good. That's a nice bit of refactoring to tidy things up. So let's go down and have a look at that again. Okay, so set player start. Let's have a look at our update. So rather than set player start here, we want to restart. Let's try that again, restart. We're going to pull this out into its own method. And we're going to call that new method, let's call it check victory. Cut it out. Put it under there. So basically the victory, when we reach the top of the screen, we're going to check victories, we're going to restart. Restarting generates a map, clears the tile map, draws the map, sets player start. Let's save that up and just make sure everything's working. Got no errors. It's compiling. press play. Now we should be able to move to the top of the screen, and we go to the bottom with a new map, and a new map, and a new map. So now we've got our infinite world and infinite levels, and we can just keep on hitting our victory condition by reaching the top of the screen. In the next video we'll look to make this a little bit more challenging and add some blocker tiles, so you have to navigate through the maze to reach the top of the screen, and also to generate that maze automatically with something called a blind walk. So there we are. Just one thing left to do. Save the scene, make sure everything's saved here, and we'll go into the Tilemap tutorial in Source Tree. We can look at the file status, and we can see all the things that have changed. So the game manager, we can see what we've deleted, we can see what we've changed. You've got all of that history. It's a really cool feature of Source Tree. How the player controller has changed, how the sample scene has changed, some of our quality settings, and our new sprite atlas and the metadata. So we want to stage all of that. Just pull this up a little bit, and this is, let's just see our naming convention. Tilemap tutorial 3, Tilemap tutorial video 5. We don't have a naming convention. Tilemap tutorial video 6. This is. We're going to push changes immediately to GitHub main. That's not always the best idea, but I'm fairly confident. So I'm going to commit those changes. Okay, go back into the history. So we've got main and GitHub, we've got local and GitHub, all on Tilemap tutorial video 6. And if you see here, we've got something called tags. And what I've done is I've added a tag for each of the tutorial videos, so you can go in and grab the code for a particular tutorial. So let's have a look at that. So let's click here and tag it and call it tutorial 6. And we're going to push the tag to GitHub as well. Add tag. So we'll now be able to see all of the code changes under the tag tutorial 6. I will show you quickly how to use that. So this is my website, gamedevsteps.com, and on this website we have Unity Tilemap tutorial. It's got all of the information in there, useful links, downloads and everything. If you go to GitHub tutorial 1 and you click on this, it takes you to the GitHub website, and it takes you to the tutorial 1 tag, and that is the code base at the state it was at the end of the video. It's worth mentioning that it's always going to be the state at the end of the video. So if you want to follow along to the video, you actually have to go to the previous tutorial, which you can do here in tags. So if you're doing tutorial 4, it's actually tutorial 3 that you need to grab the code for. You can download it as a zip file. You can open it with GitHub Desktop if you use Desktop, or Visual Studio you can use as well. Or you can use Source Tree and use this link to get the code. So just copy that and go into Source Tree. And what we would do in Source Tree, we would add, and we would clone, and we'd give a destination path. It doesn't really matter where it's going. And then we'd do a clone. and that gives me a local copy of the Tilemap tutorial in a specific folder. I can see the full history here. Have a look at the file status, the history. It's interesting how it's actually Tilemap tutorial video 6. So I actually expected this to be the tutorial that we wanted, but all you have to do to get the tutorial you wanted is double click and it will check out that particular tag that it's attached to. So if that's caught you out, it's worth knowing. And with that, I will sign off, and I will see you in the next video when we're going to look at generating our maze for the player to navigate to get to the top of the screen and hit our victory conditions. Thank you very much, guys. I will see you later.